All right, so get ready because today we're going deep
Oh, yeah.
into the business of football.
Okay.
And not that, the tactics or the star players you see on TV,
Right.
but like the money, the deals,
Mhm.
the stuff that most fans never even think about.
Yeah.
And trust me, you might be surprised by what you learn today.
Okay.
We're taking a close look at a YouTube video
Right.
by McConomy called The Football Business Behind FIFA's Closed Doors, How Money Rules Football.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So buckle up. This is going to be a wild ride.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so when we talk about football,
Yeah.
most people think about the passion, the skill of the players,
Right.
but it's easy to forget about the industry behind it all. We're talking billions
Yeah.
of euros
Yeah.
changing hands
Every year.
every year.
Yeah.
And that kind of money, it can have a powerful
Okay.
influence.
For sure.
The video gives us some numbers that really put things into perspective.
Okay.
Did you know that the average Lyon fan
Mm-hmm.
spends about 600 euros per season on their club?
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's everything from tickets to merch subscription.
Oh, wow.
The whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards. Okay.
And that's just one club
Yeah.
in one city.
Right.
Imagine that across every club and
Yeah.
every league in the world.
That's crazy.
Like a global
Look,
phenomenon.
Yeah, for sure.
In France alone, the football industry makes 5 billion every year.
Wow.
And globally, we're talking about
Like what?
a staggering 400 billion.
Goodness.
Yeah, this isn't just kicking a ball around.
No.
This is big business.
Yeah. Huge business.
So we've established that there's a lot of money in the world of football.
Yes.
But how does that actually play out?
Right.
Well, the video dives into the story of Medine.
Okay.
He's an 11-year-old French kid who's already considered a football prodigy.
Wow.
This kid's skills have racked up over 20 million views online.
20 million views.
Yeah, he's even caught the eye of legends like Arsene Wenger.
That's incredible for an 11-year-old.
I know, right? But here's where it gets a little unsettling.
Okay.
Medine is already being treated like a hot commodity,
Oh, wow.
a potential gold mine.
At 11 years old.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's where the ethical lines start to blur.
Yeah.
You have an 11-year-old
Yeah.
and he's being seen
As an investment?
as an investment opportunity.
Wow.
It raises a lot of questions about how these young athletes
Yeah.
are nurtured and whether their well-being is a priority in this system.
Mm-hmm.
The video highlights the difficult situation for Medine's parents.
Okay.
They obviously want to support their son's talent.
Of course.
Yeah. How do you shield a child from the pressure
Right.
and potential exploitation that comes with this level of attention?
Mm-hmm.
The video goes even deeper into the business side
Oh.
with Medine's tryout for Barcelona.
Wow.
So picture this. You're 11 years old. You've flown out to one of the biggest football clubs in the world.
Wow.
And the first person you meet isn't a coach or a club official.
Oh, wow.
It's a businessman from Dubai named Saad Ali.
Oh.
And Ali doesn't mince words.
Right.
He compares Medine to a piece of property,
Oh, wow.
an investment that could yield huge returns.
Goodness.
It's a stark reminder of how some people in this industry
Mm.
view young players,
Yeah.
not as individuals with dreams and aspirations,
Right.
but as assets to be bought, sold, and traded for profit.
That's crazy.
And get this, in France, it's illegal for agents to negotiate with players under 18.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a safeguard to protect young athletes from exploitation.
Okay.
But guess what?
What?
Spain has different regulations with
Really?
loopholes that make it perfectly legal for agents like Ali
Oh, wow.
to swoop in and sign young talents.
So they just go to Spain.
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy.
It's a complex web of regulations, and
Yeah.
some people are clearly taking advantage.
Of the inconsistencies.
Yeah, and it's not just about the individuals.
Right.
It's the structure of the whole system.
Yeah.
With its varying regulations and these loopholes,
Mhm.
it creates opportunities for exploitation.
And clubs themselves are deeply embedded in this system.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just looking for talented players.
Mhm.
They're looking for potential future profits.
Future profits, yeah.
The video breaks down the financial incentives for the clubs,
Okay.
using Medine as an example.
Right.
So let's say he signs with another club at age 17.
Mm-hmm.
Barcelona, because of their initial involvement with him,
Right.
could stand to make 450,000 euros,
Wow.
almost €500,000.
That's insane.
And all this for a player they might not even sign professionally.
It's a lot of money.
It's a huge potential windfall for simply being involved early on.
Yeah, just for being there first.
Exactly.
So it boils down to this system where everyone's trying to capitalize on
Yeah.
this young talent, and the players themselves are often treated like
Yeah.
commodities
Good
in
Lord.
this complex financial game.
Now hold on to your hats because things are about to take an even more bizarre turn.
Okay.
We're diving into the world of investment funds
Right.
owning players' rights.
Investment funds owning players' rights.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a level of financial entanglement that even seasoned football fans
Yeah,
might find shocking.
I can imagine.
This is where the lines between sport and finance really start to blur.
Right.
It's not just clubs and agents who are investing in players anymore.
Oh, wow.
It's hedge funds,
Hedge funds.
investment firms,
Where's that?
even companies that have nothing to do with football.
So, like, completely unrelated.
Completely unrelated.
Wow.
The video uses the example of Eliakim Mangala.
Okay.
He's a French international player.
Okay. I know.
He was considered a top prospect.
Right.
But guess who owned a portion of his financial rights?
I don't know who.
A mining group.
A mining group.
And we're not talking about your typical mining operation.
Okay.
This group specialized in uranium, coal, and gold.
Oh, wow. Like heavy metals.
Yeah.
Wow.
How wild is that?
That's pretty wild.
It really shows how players are increasingly seen as financial instruments.
Right.
Completely divorced from the actual sport they play.
Mm-hmm.
Mangala himself even talks in the video about feeling like a financial product,
Oh, wow.
essentially traded on the market like
Sure.
any other commodity.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sobering perspective.
It makes you wonder what that does to a player.
Right.
You know, what does that do to their motivation?
Yeah.
Their passion for the game.
For sure.
You know?
And here's the kicker.
Okay.
Despite the ethical implications and the potential damage to the sport,
Yeah.
this practice of investment funds owning players is incredibly profitable.
Oh, I bet.
The video gives some pretty eye-popping figures.
Okay.
Falcao, a Colombian striker, generated a 164% return for his investors,
Wow.
while Pepe, a Portuguese defender, yielded 147%.
That's a lot.
It's these kinds of returns that are attracting more and more investors
Right.
to the world of football, further solidifying the link
Yeah.
between sport and finance.
And that's where things get really concerning.
Right.
When the focus shifts from the love of the game
Yeah.
to maximizing profit,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to see how the integrity of the sport can be compromised.
Yeah. You have to wonder if these investment funds own players on multiple teams,
Oh, yeah.
even rival teams.
Uh-huh.
Where do their loyalties lie?
Exactly.
Is it with the team's success on the field,
Right.
or is it with their own financial gains?
Yeah,
It's a murky situation,
it is.
and it's hard to see how it benefits the sport in the long run.
Right. And this brings us to the role of governing bodies,
Yeah.
like UEFA.
Yeah, you okay?
They're supposed to oversee the sport
Mm-hmm.
and ensure its integrity.
Right.
But the video paints a rather bleak picture
Yeah.
of their effectiveness.
They tried to interview Michel Platini.
Oh,
He was president of UEFA at the time
right.
and a vocal critic of investment funds owning players,
Mm-hmm.
but he refused to speak with them.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty damning silence, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is.
It almost makes you wonder if there's a level of complicity within these organizations
Yeah.
turning a blind eye to these practices.
Mhm.
Because, let's face it, everyone's benefiting financially.
It's a cynical view, but it's not entirely unfounded.
Right.
The video even highlights the irony of some UEFA officials, like Nicholas Sloas,
Right.
being implicated in bribery scandals themselves.
Yeah.
Sloas was involved in the ISL scandal, where FIFA officials were taking bribes to award World Cup TV rights.
It's hard to have faith in an organization that claims to champion fair play
Right.
when its own officials are involved in such shady dealings.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we've got clubs, agents, investment funds, even governing bodies,
Yeah,
all entangled in this web of financial interests.
it's a lot.
But there's another group that plays a key role in this whole system,
Who's that?
the agents.
The agents, right.
And the video doesn't shy away from exposing some of their questionable practices
Okay.
that go on behind the scenes.
Right. Agents are often portrayed as these powerful figures who negotiate million-dollar deals and shape the careers of their clients.
Right.
But the reality is often far more complicated.
Yeah.
The video sheds light on how some agents operate in ethically gray areas, exploiting loopholes in regulations, and using shell companies to obscure their financial dealings.
Yeah, it's a world shrouded in secrecy, and it's ripe for exploitation.
The story of Carlos Sanchez really exemplifies this.
Oh, yeah. Carlos Sanchez.
He was a player for Valenciennes.
Right.
He was caught up in a bizarre tax scam.
A tax scam?
Involving a Chilean club called the Rangers.
Wow.
So Sanchez was loaned to this Chilean club.
Okay.
But get this.
What?
He never actually played a single game there. It was all a paper transaction.
Really?
Designed to allow Valenciennes to save on Social Security contributions.
Oh, so they were dodging their financial obligations.
Exactly.
Wow. It makes you wonder how much of this kind of stuff is going on that we never even hear about.
Yeah, behind closed doors.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It really is.
This is just one example of the creative and often illegal schemes that are employed to manipulate the system for financial gain.
Yeah, and it makes you think about how much of this is happening that we don't know about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a system that often preys on the vulnerable.
It really does.
And that's a troubling thought.
Yeah, it is.
So we've uncovered this pretty unsettling side of the business.
We have.
And it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all these shady dealings in these ethical gray areas.
It is.
But here's the question that's been swirling in my mind.
Okay.
How is all of this impacting the actual sport?
Yeah.
The game itself? Are we in danger of losing the heart of football amidst all of these financial machinations?
It's a good question.
The video doesn't shy away from addressing this.
Okay.
And it paints a somewhat concerning picture.
Really?
While all of this financial wheeling and dealing is going on,
the
fans, the very lifeblood of the sport, are starting to feel the squeeze.
How so?
Ticket prices are skyrocketing.
Oh, yeah?
Wages for top players are astronomical.
Right.
And there's a growing sense that the game is becoming increasingly detached from its roots.
Detached from its roots, for sure.
It's like the love of money is corrupting the beautiful game.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
When investment funds own players on opposing teams, doesn't that create a massive conflict of interest?
Yeah.
The potential for manipulating games for profit
It's huge.
is just too tempting to ignore.
Right.
And the video points out that this isn't just a theoretical concern.
Right.
Match-fixing scandals have rocked the sport
They
in recent years, eroding public trust and raising serious questions about the integrity of the game.
It's a slippery slope, and it's hard to see how it benefits anyone except maybe a select few who are lining their pockets.
Exactly.
It feels like we're watching a slow-motion train wreck.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, declining attendance in some leagues. Player protests are becoming more common, and investigations into financial irregularities are popping up everywhere.
You can't help but wonder if this insatiable appetite for money will eventually devour the sport from the inside out.
That's a good question.
And the saddest part, it's the fans who ultimately bear the brunt of this.
Oh, for sure.
They're the ones who pour their hearts and souls into their clubs, only to see them treated like pawns in this elaborate financial game.
Yeah, it's sad.
Their loyalty is exploited.
Right.
Their passion is commodified. And their love for the game is often taken for granted.
So we've laid bare the pretty grim reality of the football business.
Yeah.
But what does this all mean for us, the fans?
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
Good question.
Is there even a way to reconcile our love for the sport with the knowledge of all this darkness lurking beneath the surface?
That's the challenge.
It is.
Finding that balance between enjoying the game and acknowledging the systemic issues that plague it.
Right.
The video doesn't offer easy answers.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think there are any quick fixes.
Right.
It's a complex web of interconnected problems.
Yeah.
And untangling it will require a multifaceted approach.
But surely there are things we can do, right?
I think so.
We can't just sit back and watch as our beloved sport crumbles under the weight of greed and corruption.
Definitely not.
Absolutely.
The first step is awareness.
Awareness, okay.
By understanding the forces at play.
Yeah.
By educating ourselves about the inner workings of this industry, we can start to make more informed choices as fans.
Right.
We can choose to support clubs that prioritize transparency and ethical practices.
Okay.
We can hold governing bodies accountable for their inaction
and
demand greater oversight And we can simply start having these conversations amongst ourselves, within our communities, and with those in positions of power.
Right. So knowledge is power.
Exactly.
But the video also emphasizes the power of collective action.
Oh, yeah.
It highlights how organized fan protests and boycotts have forced some clubs and organizations to reconsider their practices. Never underestimate the power of a united fan base.
Definitely not.
To enact change.
Yeah.
And it's not just about grand gestures or headline-grabbing protests.
Right.
Even small actions like choosing to buy merchandise directly from clubs.
Oh, yeah?
Instead of through third-party retailers can send a message.
That makes sense.
Every choice we make as fans, every euro we spend has an impact.
I like that.
We need to become more conscious consumers of football.
Conscious consumers of football. I love that.
So we need to ask ourselves some tough questions.
Okay. What kind of questions?
Who benefits from our money?
That's a good one.
Are our values aligned with the clubs and organizations we support?
Yeah.
Are we willing to compromise our principles
for
the sake of entertainment?
Good question.
It's about taking a step back and really evaluating our relationship with the sport.
We can't just passively consume the sport anymore.
Right.
We need to actively engage with it.
Yeah.
Challenge the status quo and demand better.
Demand better. I like that.
We need to reclaim the narrative.
Reclaim the narrative.
And remind those in power that football ultimately belongs to the fans.
I love that. Reclaim the narrative, demand better.
Yeah.
That's what will ultimately drive change.
Exactly.
You know, out of everything we've discussed today, what stands out to you as the most alarming aspect?
For me, it's the normalization of exploitation.
Exploitation.
Particularly when it comes to young players.
Young players, right.
We're talking about children being treated as commodities.
Wow.
Their futures traded for profit.
It's crazy.
It's a moral stain on the sport that's hard to ignore.
Yeah, I agree.
And let's not forget the role of agents in all of this.
The agents, right?
The video reveals how some agents operate in legal gray areas using shell companies and backroom deals to line their own pockets.
Right.
They're essentially vultures preying on the dreams of these young athletes.
Yeah.
Often exploiting their naivete and their family's desperation for a better life.
Yeah.
It's a predatory system that needs to be exposed and reformed.
After learning all this, it's easy to feel cynical and disillusioned. You start to wonder if any part of football remains untainted by greed and corruption.
But I think it's important to remember that despite all the darkness, there are still pockets of integrity within the sport.
Okay.
There are clubs, players, and fans who genuinely believe in the spirit of the game.
Okay.
In fair play and in the power of community.
We need to highlight those stories.
Yes.
Amplify those voices and celebrate those who are fighting to preserve the soul of football.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, it's the passion and dedication of the fans that will determine the future of the sport.
The video ends with a really thought-provoking question that I'm going to put to you.
Right.
Is it even possible to be a true football fan without in some way supporting the darker side of the business?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer, and I think it's something each fan needs to grapple with individually. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
At what point does our love for the sport become complicit in a system that exploits players, manipulates outcomes, and prioritizes profit over integrity?
It's a balancing act, for sure.
It is.
But I believe that by becoming more informed, more critical, and more vocal, we can start to tip the scales back towards the values that make football truly beautiful.
This has been a real eye-opener.
It has.
You know, we dove deep into the often unseen world of football business and learned about the money, the power plays, and the ethical challenges facing the sport. It wasn't always pretty.
No, it wasn't.
But it's crucial to understand these issues if we want to be part of the solution.
Exactly.
So keep that passion for the beautiful game alive.
I will.
But don't forget to be critical.
Yeah.
Be informed.
Right.
And most importantly, be active in shaping the future you want for football.
I agree.
Until next time. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. It really feels like we're at a turning point in football history. You know, on one hand, we have this incredible sport that brings people together from all over the world.
Right.
But on the other hand, there's this undercurrent of greed and corruption that's threatening to pull it under.
It's almost like a classic battle
Yeah.
You know, good versus evil
Right.
playing out on a global stage.
Yeah. And just like in any good story,
Right.
the ending is still unwritten.
Yeah, we don't know how it ends.
Will the beauty of the game prevail?
Right.
Or will the darker forces win out?
That's a good question.
Well, for one, I like to believe that we, as fans,
Yeah.
we have a say in how this story ends.
For sure.
We can't just sit back
No.
and passively observe.
Right, we got to be active.
We need to become active participants,
Yeah.
demand transparency from those in power,
Right.
hold them accountable for their actions,
Mhm.
and support those who are fighting for a better future for the sport.
And it's not just about focusing on the big names.
Nope.
You know, the global superstars or the mega rich clubs.
Mm-hmm.
It's about remembering the grassroots,
Yeah.
the local communities,
Romeo.
kids who play simply because they love the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the true heart of football lies.
Absolutely. And that's worth fighting for.
Oh, yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Good.
I want to leave you with this thought.
All right.
What can you do
Yeah.
to make a difference?
What can we do?
Maybe it's supporting organizations that
Right.
promote fair play.
Okay.
Maybe it's educating yourself about the business side of the sport.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just having these conversations
Right.
with your fellow fans.
Every action, big or small,
Right.
can contribute to positive change.
I agree.
Remember, the future of football isn't predetermined.
Yeah.
It's being shaped right now,
Mm.
and we all have a role to play.
This has been a real eye-opener.
Yes.
You know, we dove deep into the often unseen world of football business.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
learned about the money,
Yeah.
the power plays,
Right.
and the ethical challenges facing the sport.
Absolutely.
It wasn't always pretty,
No.
but it's crucial to understand these issues
Yes, very
because
important.
we want to be a part of the solution.
Exactly.
So keep that passion for the beautiful game alive,
Yeah.
but don't forget to be critical,
Mm-hmm.
be informed,
Uh-huh.
and most importantly, be active
Yes.
in shaping the future you want to see for football.
I agree.
Until next time.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. You know, we've talked about the big picture stuff,
Yeah,
but what about the everyday fan?
right.
What can they do to make a difference?
I think one of the most important things
Yeah.
is to be mindful of where your money is going.
Okay.
Support clubs and organizations
Mhm.
that align with your values.
Yeah.
Do some research, you know,
Right.
look into their practices,
Yeah.
see how they treat their players, their staff, their communities.
And don't be afraid to speak up.
Yeah. If you see something that doesn't sit right with you,
Mm.
say something,
Right.
whether it's online, at a game, or even directly to the club. Social media can be a powerful tool
Right?
for holding organizations accountable.
It really can.
You know, use your voice.
Yeah.
Amplify the voices of others who are
Mhm.
pushing for change.
So it's not just about being a passive observer anymore.
No, not at all.
It's about taking an active role
Yeah.
in shaping the future of the sport.
And remember, change doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It's a long game,
It is.
but every little bit helps.
Yeah.
We've got to keep the pressure on,
Okay.
keep asking those tough questions
Mhm.
and demanding better.
It's been a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, it has
We've learned a
a
lot.
lot of stuff we didn't even think about before.
Right, about the intricate workings of the football business.
Yeah.
It's a complex landscape
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a mix of passion,
Right.
greed,
Oh,
and everything in between.
but ultimately, it's up to us,
Right.
the fans,
Yeah.
to decide what kind of future we want
Yeah.
for the beautiful game.
So until next time, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
See you next time.